Let's get started. Thank you all for coming. And it's going to be a meta kind of talk. We're going to talk about developer productivity with ChatGPT and other large language models, but also using ChatGPT. So it will help us, but also we will learn how it can help us. I hope it will become clearer soon enough. Okay, so it will be a lot of it. We'll just try stuff live. Everything will be terrible. Nothing will work. Everything will fail. We'll talk about why. We'll try to fix it. Probably we'll fail with that as well. So expect a wild ride. My name is Baruch Sadogursky. I'm at JBaruch on whatever social media is trending this week, trying to at least get on those hyped ones. I'm a developer productivity advocate with Gradle, as you can see. My journey is a wild one. I started as a developer many years ago, and then worked for JFrog for most of my career, 11 years. We pivoted into DevOps with JFrog, and now I'm kind of back in development, and being back in a JVM community is really like coming home. Every conference that I meet people, it's just so great. I co-authored a couple of books, DevOps Tools for Java Developers, that's kind of my sweet spot between DevOps and Java, and Liquid Software about proper release processes of the future that I obviously recommend you to read because they are nice. The most important slide of this talk is this. If you go to speaking.jbaruch, and thank you Switzerland for allowing me to use their top-level domain to make it awesome. You will find a page, and I will show it to you in a second, dedicated for this talk. The slides are already there. I'm recording the video. Hopefully I tapped all the right buttons, so we will have the video after the talk. All the links are there as well for the books and everything else that I'm going to mention. In case you have a hard time remembering it, it's in the bottom of each and every slide. Together with the hashtags for Bazel 1 and DPE, which stands for Developer Productivity Engineering. That's what we are going to talk about. Okay, so how it's going to work? I'm going to ask large language model, and I will start with ChatGPT, a couple of questions. What is developer productivity engineering? Why do we want to improve it in general? And what can be improved? And we'll go from there. So before we start actually asking ChatGPT about the whole idea of developer productivity engineering, down the road in this talk we will get to a very specific example of improving developer productivity engineering in a Java project. So I wanted to show you this Java project and actually run it for the first time to see what there is to improve. So this is a very dummy and very annoying project that has tons of classes and then tons of tests. All the tests are checking those classes, and eventually it's one module monolith written in Java. I have a couple of options for build. I have here Maven and Gradle. I will show you Gradle, but it doesn't matter. The principles are exactly the same. This is my Gradle build. Nothing like it just runs, compiles and run tests, and that's pretty much all. So what I want to do is run it while we will continue working, so we will save some time down the road. Okay, it runs, fine. As I promised, is it large enough? Yeah. This is speaking.jbaruch. You can see here, boom. Our presentation is right there, and it has all the links and everything else. Okay, so as I promised, we're going to ChatGPT. I'm a subscriber for a Plus, and we will need it for a couple of features that we will try to use when we'll try to improve our productivity with ChatGPT. I have AI with another AI. Very cool. How about no? Okay, never mind. How do I get rid of it? Here. Hide, yes, always. Thank you. There we go. Okay. DP stands for Developer Productivity Engineering. It's all about making software development processes more efficient. Think faster builds, better tooling, and automating repetitive tasks. Anyone thinks that it's not a good thing to improve? Excellent, we're in the right place. Okay, the goal to help developers, blah, blah, blah. Perfect, game changer for teams, great. Okay, what else did I promise to ask? Why? That's a stupid question. Why do you want to improve it? Improving DP is like tuning a race car. You get faster laps in developer teams, quicken developer cycles. When you build processes quick and your tools are top-notch, you waste less time on grunt work and focus on the real problems. Also, it can boost morale. This is important. We all will be happier. No one likes waiting ages for a build to complete. Very true. It's good for business too, as faster cycles usually means quicker releases and happier customers. Awesome. Okay. Let's ask the real question. How do we do it? Okay, so first of all, we need to examine what we're already doing, right? Because we need to concentrate all bottlenecks, and it will help us do exactly that. Automate repetitive tasks, use scripts, CI/CD pipelines, and it's faster than I can read. And bots to handle boring stuff. I love it. Optimize builds if you're using Gradle or similar. I didn't pay for Gradle mention, thank you. Profile your builds to find bottlenecks and fix them. Monitor feedback loops, very important. Training and documentation, iterative, obviously. Invest in good hardware and software and collaborate. Well, I think this is awesome. Okay, that's just great. All I need to do is to ask it to create a website with those concepts, and we have a manifesto for developer productivity engineering. How cool is that? I didn't pay it to do it. I paid for other stuff. Okay, perfect. All right. Answers. DP helps us improving our overall development experience. The build is a good place to start, as mentioned. It's not only Gradle, and this is something very important to mention. Developer productivity engineering is not about this or other particular technology. The fact that Gradle is investing in developer productivity engineering doesn't mean that it's somehow tied into it or locked in. In JVM space, when we all live, you can improve Maven builds, SBT builds, Bazel builds, or whatever other build technology. All of them can be improved. And it's not only build, right? In the end of the day, who attended a great Anton's talk this morning about debugging in IntelliJ? Okay, so if you didn't, you really should watch a recording of a previous session that he did. This is developer productivity engineering. If you use your IDE more efficiently, you actually improve your productivity as well. Everything else. Test containers. Who is using test containers? Okay, not enough. All of you should use test containers. It will make your testing more productive. Developer productivity engineering. It's all there. Okay, now I want to get to the good stuff when we actually start failing miserably. And that will be improving our build. So that was like the first idea to start, so we can do that. Okay, so I have a build that took 1 minute 44 seconds. Not terrible, not great. Let's talk about how do you feel about your build. Who thinks their build is slow? What, 60%? Yeah, something like that. That's very on point with the entire industry. This is more or less what people think. Now, who skips tests in the order for their build to get faster? Okay, about the half of you. Probably the other half just don't admit it because they know that it's bad. Because it is bad, right? It is bad because why do you build software locally? You don't build it to produce the artifact that goes to production. Well, I hope. Anyone deploys from their local machine? Good. So why do you do it? Why do you run build locally? You run build locally to get feedback, right? You want to get feedback on if it compiles, if it builds. It's actually the same idea of why do you use your IDE, your IntelliJ idea, and not a notepad. Anyone writes code in notepad? No, because you want to see how it highlights your errors when you type. It's exactly the same idea of getting feedback. When you're skipping tests, you compromise on how much feedback you get. Now you say, you know what? It's so slow that I'm ready to give up on part of my feedback just for this friggin' thing to go faster. I understand that, but that's not the right way to go. What is the right way to go is speed up your feedback to the level that you will feel comfortable with without compromising on the quality of the feedback. And that's exactly what we want to do, and let's see if we can do it. Well, not exactly we, if ChatGPT can do it, and if not, why? Okay, so I have a Java monolith built with Gradle, Kotlin DSL. Okay, it's slow. How do I speed it up? Right, that's what we do. Slow Java build, yeah, so let's get to it. Okay, Gradle build scan. Use Gradle Enterprise or public build scan to diagnose bottlenecks. Okay, this is on point. Before we know how to fix it, we need to know what to fix. And then parallel builds, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I got it. Easy. Build scans. How? Okay. That was a hard question. Oh, okay, here we go. Plugins, build scan, accept terms. Okay, probably not bad. Run build. Okay, execute or build with -- scan. Okay, this is where we already start failing, but we'll get to more spectacular failures to talk about it. Actually, to get the build scan, all you need to do is run it with -- scan. You don't need to install any plugins or anything like that. So just go here and you do -- scan. That's all. That's all we need to do. Okay, let's run this build once again. And okay, it will run for a minute. Let's see what else was there in this. In the suggestions, parallel builds. In your settings, Gradle, enable parallel execution of or Gradle parallel true. Well, it keeps failing. Parallel execution is actually enabled by default, so we don't need to do that. Configuration change. Configuration cache, this is good. We'll get to caching in a second. Dependency resolution, use dependency lookup caching. Obviously, this is important. Okay, so let's see how does it work. We said like a minute and something. Okay, we're almost there. We will speed it up dramatically, so you won't have to suffer through 2 minutes of build every time. That's the last time it takes 2 minutes, I promise. This is, you see, slow build. Now, okay, so what do we do when we have slow build? First is this. We're sitting and waiting, and I'm get annoyed, and you're get annoyed, and you're get annoyed with me, and with build, great. The second is, what do? Check emails. Okay, show of hands. Who thinks staring at the build and getting annoyed is worse than checking emails? Like third maybe? Who thinks checking emails is worse than staring at build? Yeah, everybody else then just don't. They do something else, drink coffee, and it's better. Yeah, okay, so obviously, and that's a topic for another talk that I have, checking emails is much worse than staring at builds. Because context switch, when we get out of our flow and then trying to get back, is extremely cognitively expensive. And cognitive fuel is at limited capacity. We refill it when we sleep, but towards the end of the day, we deplete this cognitive fuel. The more context switches we do, the faster we get tired. Now, the problem with that is that most of us don't even realize that. We continue writing code in a more tired state. And it will be fine, it will be an okay code, but it won't be your best job. The problem is, again, no one even knows about it. You committed, you create a pull request, a reviewer look at it and it's an okay code. It will probably pass and will end up in your product. But you could do just better, much better, if only you wouldn't check the emails when your build runs. But you will because you're building slow. So we're back to making the build faster. Okay, something happened here. And publishing a build scan requires accepting Gradle terms. Sure, whatever. Okay, here we go. Build scan. So this is nice. You can see what happened during your build and how long it took. You can see stuff like timeline. Okay, most of it, boom, it was all test. Basically, yeah, everything was super fast, and then test was terribly slow because, you know, tests. And we can say here that it wasn't like, it was just run because we did clean build, which is fine. It's just, we want the test to be faster. So, there are a couple of more things here. There are failure analytics right there, and this is all free and you can use it today. Failure analytics that will show you the failure build, why it failed. Maybe, you know, something didn't compile, maybe some other reasons. There is also results of the test running, including all the output and stack traces for failed tests, which is great. Dependencies. Again, we can see where dependencies were resolved and why, etc., etc. And infrastructure, which machine did we use, which JVM did we use, etc. Now, this is great for me to understand it, but I could probably just look at the logs and get more or less the same information. The real value of the build scan is that it is linkable and we can share it with our teammates because it allows us to have a common language about each and every build. Instead of saying, hey, something failed, let me show you the logs. Can you come over? Oh, we're working remote. You are across the... You know what? Don't come. Maybe I will logs and send it to you by email. This kind of stuff. Common language. Every part here is linkable. So if you want to say timeline, you will send them a timeline. If you want to send them a log or a line in the log, look at that. Every line in the log is linkable. This creates common tooling to talk about a build. And this is all free and just use it. Okay, so there are a couple of problems. First of all, obviously, we want this build scan. Is it cool? We want everybody to use it? We want everybody to use it. Should we just go and nag them, hey, did you remember the dash scan? Or maybe we can automate it somehow. Maybe we can bake it into the build itself, so it will just do it. And obviously, these terms of services, typing GS every time is terrible. Okay, build scan. Cool beans. They are cool beans. But how about not needing scan every time? And accepting the terms by default. Let's see what happens now. Okay, we want to make it seamless. Yes, auto-apply scan in settings, LD build scan config. Okay, this is nice. Terms of service, yes, love it. And then publish always. Publish always is also great. That's exactly what we needed. How cool is that? So what we need to do is take this and put it where? Settings.gradle. Let's do that. Where is our settings? They were right here. Where settings. Here we go. So we just go here and we put that, and well, something is missing, right? That's not, doesn't work. Build scan is not recognized. Okay, let's see what happens now. Aha, plugins. Oh, here we go. This is better, right? So first of all, we need to apply the plugin, and we can do that. And we need to wrap the build scan in Gradle Enterprise block, right? Something like this. Not better, obviously, because XYZ is not a version of the plugin. So. You can check the latest version. Okay, thank you. This is very useful, but okay. What was it? Gradle Enterprise plugin. Oh, here we go. Applying the plugin 3.15.1. Okay, so I had to look it up. Not great, but probably not terrible. Let's see if that helps. Come on, idea, do your thing. Oh, perfect. All right, good. Before we run the build again, we don't want to suffer. Let's speed it up. Remember, we wanted to speed it up. How do we speed it up? Okay. So now we know tests are slow. What do we do? Okay, tests are bottleneck. Parallel test execution. Sweet. Okay. Available processors coheres at least 2. Okay, whatever that means, I have no idea. Dr. Korsman is here. He probably knows what coheres at least 2 mean. No, he doesn't know. That means no one knows. Okay, and then test. Okay, this is good. Let's do max parallel forks. Where? In tests, right? In build. Why am I in commit? I don't want to be in commit. Okay, that's what I want to be. And we need the build. These are build tests, so we go here and do parallel testing, right? Coherent list minimum value 2. Okay, fine. Should we try? Yeah, let's try it. Okay, so now we expect to be somehow faster, and we expect the build scan to be published automatically, right? Let's see what happens. Boom! Wow. How about that? 11 seconds instead of 2 minutes. Okay, so I don't know if any of you have the problem of convincing their boss to upgrade their local development machine. Anyone? Okay. Show them this. There is no arguing with this stuff. Instead of 2 minutes, 11 seconds, you are much more productive and you are much happier, obviously. This was impressive. And we get the build scan automatically, okay? So it will open another build scan, but you already saw this stuff. It's pretty much the same, just much faster, which is nice. Okay, now what else I wanted to ask? Yeah, so but you notice how it run all the tasks, all the tests all the time? Yes, they're much faster, but did we change anything in the code at all? No, and it still keep running the same tests. I mean, that is kind of stupid. Let's get that fixed because it is stupid. Fast. Those that not need to run, right? Let's see what that gives us. Okay. To skip unnecessary test annotations. Use JUnit annotations like task. Conditional test execution. Use only if. File changes. The plugin that runs tests affected by changed files. Very nice. We didn't change it. Gradle test filtering and test distribution. Okay, not bad at all. Now, anyone sees the problem in all those ideas? Like tagging, filtering, selecting what tests to run.
It's manual. It's
I have no fucking idea what test I need to run. I don't know. How do I select? I can put tasks, but in the end of the day, I don't know what are the right tests. Maybe, I mean, okay, impact analysis. CI/CD platform and plugins analyze your code changes. Okay, this is nice. Launch darkly. Mr. Koski Kawagachi, the creator of, he's doing Launchable, which is also do that. But there is also Launch Darkly, right? Or was it Launchable? What was it? Yeah, Launch Darkly. I didn't know they do that, but okay. Oh, some features of Gradle Enterprise. Look at that. I didn't pay for it to do it. Nice. Machine learning models. This is excellent. Custom scripts, flaky test detection. This is also nice. And third-party tools. Okay, I like it. How it's called, impact analysis. And machine learning. With Gradle Enterprise, haha. Tell me more about those. Okay, let's see what happens now. Okay, that didn't work. So here's the thing. If I now go with this answer, I will probably get fired. Because Gradle Enterprise, first of all, there is no such thing as Gradle Enterprise anymore. It's now called the Velocity. And so I thought Gradle Enterprise is a terrible name because it has nothing, it's not only for Gradle and it's not only for Enterprise. Gradle renamed it and now it's called the Velocity and now it's much worse because I have to say the Velocity, a product formerly known as Gradle Enterprise. It didn't get any better. But, okay, the tool that we are referring to actually do exist. Since our project, okay, so how does it work? Quick explanation. Remember the machine learning bit? That's the key here. How machine learning works. We say, hey machine, we want to check for which code changes, which tests will probably fail, right? We throw in a lot of code changes, we throw in a lot of test results, and then we say to machine learning, hey, figure out the correlation between the two. For example, changes made after 4 p.m. in class names usually fail tests in module API. Why? No one has any idea, but no one cares. All we need to do, all we need to know is that this is how it works. And it means that if the time is after 4 p.m. and we rename a class, we probably should run the API tests. I don't know why, but it's a prediction which works. Now, obviously for that, we need to run all the tests, all the time, for all the changes, for a longer time in our project, for the machine learning to actually learn. We're not going to do it now because you need to go home probably before midnight. So instead, I'm going to show you an existing instance that does exactly that. Have you heard about Spring project? Ha ha ha, that was a joke. We give the velocity that used to be called Gradle Enterprise to Spring because it will allow me to do that on stage, so it's worth it. And they run the learning on their project. They have a big project, right? So what we can see is that in the last 7 days, they run almost 4,000 builds. Our model predicted with their model almost 99% accuracy for the tasks and over 90% of accuracy for the test failures. What tests will fail for what changes. Now you might say, well, that's nice, but hey, 10% is a lot. If we miss 10% of tests that we should have run to determine a failure and fix it, we will be in trouble. And I say, do not forget that we are talking about local builds only. We have our CI, which is our safe net. And in the CI, we run all the tests, and they will catch everything. But for our local build, we can save third of the time, but not running tests. Almost 7 days off in the last 7 days period for the entire team, obviously. Sacrificing what? 1% of tasks that we will have to come back to when our CI build test fails. Worth it? Hell yes. Those are huge saves that we can get out of predicted test selection. So we speed up the tests, and then we avoid the tests that cannot be skipped. What else can we try? How about caching? Caching is good for build because we can cache stuff that didn't change. For example, if we didn't change any code, we can skip compilation. If we didn't change anything and no tests, or even if tests should be run but we didn't change any code, we can cache that as well. How about caching? Caching is your friend to speed up Gradle build. Hell yes. Task caching or Gradle caching true in your Gradle properties. Configuration cache. Configuration cache with dash dash, I don't like it. They're probably a flag. Dependency caching, obviously, you do it with Artifactory anyway. I invested 11 years in make sure that you are doing that. So you are. Okay, excellent. Caching true. That's what we need to do. Obviously, we're in Gradle properties. Gradle properties. Caching true. Okay, now we need to run it probably 2 times, right? First, we need to populate the cache, and then we need to actually see the cache working. We didn't change anything. I expect caching to hit 100%, right? Okay, 11 seconds. Next should be something in sub-seconds. Huh, look at that. Let's go to the build scan and see how that works. If we go to timeline, we can see here our super quick tests, and they are from cache. Cool? Now, except of local cache, there is also remote cache. Let's see, that didn't work. Here we go, remote cache with Gradle Enterprise. Ha! You can set up a remote cache. How about remote cache? Remote cache is useful in a team and CI/CD environments. Okay, this is what we need to do. We need to enable remote cache. Let's do that. And we do it in... That's not a properties file, so yes. Oh, here we go, with credentials. Perfect, okay. So let's do that. We put it in, we said settings, right? Where is our code? Here. Settings. In Gradle Enterprise, no, not in Gradle Enterprise, is it? No, it should be out, maybe, we'll see. That's not great. How about we put it here? That didn't work. Let's reload the scripts maybe. Let's rebuild the project maybe. Then not really. Okay, how about we do put it back in outside of Gradle Enterprise. That's what we need to do. Maybe that will work. Let's again rebuild. Huh, it didn't work. Okay, so not great. And so it goes. I mean, I've been doing this talk for maybe 3 or 4 times. Trust me, the suffering only gets deeper. I want to save some time, but I could go with failures for another hour. I actually had a 90-minute slot that I did this talk, and hour and 15 of it, ChatGPT threw terrible ideas at me and none of them worked. It's fun, but not that fun. Why? Well, actually, ChatGPT is, unfortunately, at the moment, not getting better with time. There are a couple of ideas why. Some of them we know for sure, others we assume. One of the ideas that we're not sure of, but we pretty much convinced that this is what's happening, is that OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, is trying to save money. And the way they're saving money is that they learn about the users and their interests, and they provision a subset of the entire model to actually save money on each and every environment that they provision. It obviously hurts the quality, but there are more obvious reasons. First of all, obviously the cutoff. September 2021, I think they upgraded it now if you use ChatGPT 4 for January 2022. Still, when we talk about technology, it's ages. For example, you just saw it in action. The feature that does predictive test selection, it just doesn't know about it because Gradle released it a couple of months after January 2022. Browsing. Should I show you how terrible it is? Or it will just, it's terrible. I need to do this. So let's do something else. Let's go to chat and browse with Bing. Now, it used to be great, the browsing, and then obviously people started abusing it. They started to use it to bypass paywalls and other nasty stuff. So they closed it, and they actually just opened it back a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what they did to protect against abuse, but they also protected it against fair use. Let's ask the same question. Predictive test selection in Gradle Enterprise. Okay, starting up. This is excellent. If you thought that you are kind of getting annoyed and context switching while you are waiting for your build, trust me, you will get much more annoyed and context switching while waiting for it to come back. Also, it will fail resolving a lot of good resources that it could get the results, sometimes even from the official documentation. Sometimes it managed to get the results from Gradle documentation, other times just like breaks. But it also goes to all those garbage websites like Quora. Well, it's not garbage website, but there are a lot of incorrect answers there in Stack Overflow and just grabs whatever it finds there, which also doesn't help. Okay, it's painful, but I think it actually brings us something back. Okay. It looks like it manages, but it's super slow. Okay, you got the gist. There are other plugins that are apparently a little bit better than the built-in browsing. One of them called Web Pilot, and it's better than the built-in browser for general information. For example, if you want to get summary of the current world events, Web Pilot will probably do a better job than the native built-in browsing. But for technical documentation, it's actually much worse. It fails retrieving most of the technical information most of the time. What we can do is customizing ChatGPT for what's important for us. For example, I'm obviously very interested in getting relevant information from Gradle and Gradle Enterprise documentation. What I can do is 3 simple steps. I need to set up a vector database. I need to feed the custom data to this database, and it means all the documentation, code samples, Stack Overflow, correct answers, and whatever I want. And then teach ChatGPT to use my vectors. I mean, simple. If you are not into data engineering, you will probably have a hard time doing one or more of or all of those steps. On top of that, you need to be able to deploy plugins into ChatGPT, which you probably are not able to because there is a wait list, and I don't know how they provision whoever gets access. I didn't get my access yet, so I cannot tell you what even the experience is like. The good news are there are third-party services. One of them is called Mantium AI, and there are many others, and they encapsulate this process. It's probably a very short-lived business because in some point of time it will be more convenient to do it, but for now they actually help. So if we go here to Mantium AI, you can see here that it's checking my credentials. What? Ah, sure, of course you can. Okay, now you can. It's checking my credentials. But thank you for mentioning it. Okay, here we go. I have an app here that is Gradle and Gradle Enterprise product documentation. And what it did is data source. I fed it a bunch of the files. And then it created managed data set out of it with the embeddings. And then it used their database to process everything. And in the end of the day, on Redis, I think, and in the end of the day, we have this data source. So now I can go back to my ChatGPT. Ah, come on. Here we go. And enable here a plugin, the Mantium plugin. Now, first time when I enable it, I need to go and log in into my account in Mantium, so it will use only my apps. And then I can say, doing the same with the exact documentation. Now, what you need to remember is that prompt engineering is important. As you can see, I didn't use any prompt engineering at all. I asked it as I was asking a colleague, hey, tell me this, tell me that, which is fine. But this is not how large language models work. They are extremely susceptible to prompt engineering, and we need to use it. So instead of just saying, hey, give me the correct configuration for remote caching or whatever, and you know what, I'll try. It might not work what I try to kind of tell you, but let me try something with you. So let's take another feature. Let's take, for example, a parallel test distribution. Test distribution is exactly the same idea as local test parallelization, but we use the cloud for it. It's again a feature of the velocity, but let's see how do we configure it. Okay. Someone used plugins in ChatGPT and can help me what happened? What, I mean, look at that. Something is not right here. It didn't use the plugin at all. Just didn't use the plugin. I would expect it to, hey, you're writing, you use the plugin, go ahead and use the plugin. No. What we actually need to do, and this is all bullshit. Now, this code is complete hallucination. I won't even try to run it because it's all incorrect. Now, for this conversation, use the Mantium plugin and my app in it to answer questions about Gradle and Gradle Enterprise. Okay? This was the example of prompt engineering. Now what it does is like, okay, what is Mantium? What do you mean by app? Let's check. So it's going to check what did I mean. And now Mantium tells me, hey, you have a, okay. Now we got another answer. This one came from the official documentation. How can we know? First of all, we can ask. If we look here, we can see the request, and then we can see the results. This is the vector parsed documentation of Gradle Enterprise that I fed it, that Mantium now returns, and the most important part is the score. This is very relevant. 100%, like 1 is the most relevant, 0 is the least relevant. So this is the right answer, and it will return the text representation of this vector block. That's exactly what we actually needed. Oh, thank you very much. That was perfect. Okay. But at least, yes. Told you it's going to be terrible. Oh, okay. You got the gist. We tried it again, we failed again, but yeah. Okay, now, I mean, again, I can do it for another hour, but I probably shouldn't. So let's summarize both aspects. How do we improve developer productivity engineering, and how do we improve developer productivity engineering by using ChatGPT correctly? Caching, local and remote. We spoke about it, right? So we did the local caching. I didn't show you the remote. The remote is the same idea. The caches will be on a remote server. It's also absolutely free with a caveat that you need to maintain your own remote node. But in the end of the day, the biggest benefit of remote caching is enabling it for your CI build as well. All of you, I have no doubt, experienced the Monday morning syndrome, and I'm not talking about the hangover that you probably should also experience at some point of time, but I'm talking about the first slow build. The first build on Monday morning, even if you have cache enabled, will be slow because things changed over, weekend, time zones, the ocean, and everything else. So the first build will miss all the caches that you set up locally. But if your CI maintains a cache for you to use in your remote cache node, you will download this cache and it will be completely up to date. Your build will be not as fast as you would hit the local cache, but almost as fast because all you need to do is download the cache results. It will be much, much faster. So enable remote and enable it for your CI as well. Parallel testing, you saw it, that's wow. Remote, maybe you don't have your super strong machine and trying to convince your boss failed. And then you decided not to get, not to leave your job because of it, because it's not the perfect time probably for look for a job. So you keep being miserable with your not so fast machine. You know what? Again, delegate it to the cloud. You can parallelize the builds remotely. That will be your test distribution. Predictive text selection, you saw that, that's pretty awesome. And flaky tests. We didn't touch it at all because we didn't have time. There are ways to get rid of those pesky flaky tests. And you don't even need to use any of paid tools or anything like that. All you need to make sure is that you run your tests more than once if they fail. It will take longer time, only if they fail. You should use it every time? Probably not. You can have different suites in which you will do it. But this is how you find those flaky tests that sometimes pass, sometimes run. And then you quarantine them, you skip them until you get and fix them. If you already pay for a tool like the Velocity, we have built-in instruments to make it even easier, but even if you don't, you still should do that. And obviously, watch your build for degradations. This is something that we experience with our devices, like our mobile phones and our laptops. Everything becomes slower as the time approaches. There are fun conspiracy theories that it's actually a built-in feature for you to force to upgrade your tech, but it's probably just stuff is degrading over time. It's the same for your build. Even if you fixed it and it's perfect now, and it's super fast, if you don't watch it, it will slide and will become slow again, because people change things, and not all the changes are effective and performant. So you need to watch your build, and again, you don't need any specific tooling for that. You just need to make sure that you record local times. Just, you know what, throw them into an Excel sheet, I don't care. Once in a day, write how long your local build is in Google spreadsheets, and see if that degrades over time. And if it does, make an effort to run a build scan and find why it is slower. Again, if you use a tool like the Velocity or others, there are built-in observability metrics that will help you with that. So what you can do today for free: parallel local caching, remote caching with the caveat that you need to maintain your own remote node, and build scans. You can also win prizes for free. How about that? And we will get to that in a second. What your company should really pay for: the Velocity product, formerly known as Gradle Enterprise, or similar, depends on what stack are you on and what your, what you prefer. So, with that, learn more and try it today. Well, you know what? I actually missed a slide here about tips for making your ChatGPT more productive, and I will just repeat what I already said. So first of all, pay for ChatGPT 4. Well, make your boss to pay for ChatGPT 4. It's significantly better. It allows you to use plugins, which are, as you saw, are critical, and it allows you to use browsing, which, as you saw, are critical as well. Without those two things, ChatGPT is great for stuff like, hey, I'm bored, I want to chat about philosophical questions, but it's terrible for answering technical questions. If you use ChatGPT 4, if you make it by prompt engineering, harvest the data from the right resources, like the official documentation, you will get very reliable results that you can actually copy-paste into your code, and it will work. Now, I bet the browsing will get better, so this will save a lot of our problems. But if not, try to search for the plugins that will provide you more relevant information. And if you are on the other side, as I am, if you are a provider of information and you want other people to use this information from ChatGPT, help them by creating a custom plugin, or at least using something like Mentium so they can get more relevant information for them as well. Now, with that, really, that will be all. So, Gradle Maven Speed Challenge, that's how you win prizes for free. DP Agent of Change, that's something dear to my heart. If you are become a little bit more excited about productivity engineering, take a look at the resources at speaking.jbaruch. There are a lot of tools there that can help you spread the message further. Reading DP Handbook is one of them. Watching the DP Summit videos is another one. We had DP Summit less than a month ago. The videos will be public in a week. So there are great resources for any organization: Netflix, Uber, Meta, and everything in between. And with that, really thank you very much. I'm in JBaruch everywhere. This is Basil 1, and speaking.jbaruch is where you go for all the resources, the slides, the video, and everything else. With that, thank you.